must say that I don't think most people understand Raila. Raila Odinga. When you talk about Raila Odinga, you must start with some principles. The number one principle that you must start with is what is politics. Politics is a process by which we engage as a community, as a people, to be able to determine where resources are located. It's a process of discussing who gets what, when, where, and why. That's the fundamental of politics. It's just like you today, you're working in the royal media, but then if a retirement age comes to place, you probably retire at 55. But then when you go back to your family, do you also retire from fending for them? Do you stop saying that I will not now feed my children because I've retired? I will not make decisions about resources in this family because we have retired. I will not even find ways, even if you retired without any kind of packages that will make you sustain yourself, you will still find a way to make sure that your family can be stable. So that's number one. Now, that process is both within government and without government. The only thing that happens in government, the principle number two, which I was coming to, is policy. What is policy? Policy. Simplified policy simply means action and inaction of government. Where government has done actions, or where government has chosen not to take actions on things that affect the first concept of sharing resources, the participation of those in government and those without government is key. That is why Gen Z movement came in place. Gen Z movement came in place because there was one action of government of being able to tax them as much as they didn't want. But then the inaction of government that came in place was accountability on how those resources, those taxes were being used. I don't think that Gen Zs had a problem with government taxing people. I think Gen Zs had a problem with where these taxes were going, because there was a big element of the politicians of the day showing a lot of opulence, vomiting on Kenyans on the basis of eating their taxes as Gen Zs had seen it. So that is where policy was a problem. Now, what is Raila's default? Raila's default is always being able to make sure that equity in terms of resource sharing, equity in terms of opportunities, equity in terms of placement of both young people and older generations, equity in terms of voices, what we call democracy, being able to have dissenting opinions in the country and being able to have people engage in a manner that there is freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of want is there in the country. That is the Raila default. So when Raila comes back, there is no question of what Raila is going to do. There's just a question of, will he still have energy, for instance, to lead ODM party? Okay? Because you remember when Raila Odinga was leaving the country, he appointed a number of individuals to be able to take what we call acting party positions. You remember there is the governor of Kisumu, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who is now the acting party leader of ODM. That hasn't changed yet. And then there were a number of changes in ODM that was supposed to be able to be placeholders for when Raila would come back, whether it was sooner or later. It just happened that it is soon. So Raila's default, before you talk about positions, I don't think Raila cares about as much, because if there is anybody who has lost elections while people grow and get positions, is Raila Odinga. You know, many MPs that you're seeing today, many guys that you're seeing today, many people that you're seeing today have gained more positions while Raila is always outside. Maybe in one or two instances, like in 2007, 2008, is when you say that he became a prime minister. Right. But in most cases, people benefit from positions where Raila has lost position. So I don't think that Raila is positional as opposed to relational to our problems. So what I believe that Raila Odinga will do, the Raila Odinga that I know, number one, he will not retire from fending for his people. He will not retire from taking care of the people of Kenya.